I am light, and you call me Amaurosis. I come tonight to do for you an activity of purification, and that to be performed by the power of light. And I say unto you the words of the Nazarene Master. If the light that is in thee be darkness, how great is that darkness? The light of the body is the eye. And if thine eye be single, then thy whole body shall be full of light. Thou hast an eye, and it is the doorway to the octave of divine light. Thou hast an eye, and tonight thou canst use thy eye to flood thy body with light. Therefore, in memory of the day of the great Cyclops, when singleness of vision prevailed, and the concept of deity availed mankind much in prevailing upon heaven to shower blessings upon mankind, I say to you all, behold within yourself now, and in the center of your forehead, a single eye. In this eye, perceive a ball of liquid light. Concentrate upon this liquid light, eye of light, within the center of thy forehead. Do not let a flurry of mental thought or a feeling of emotion stir within thy being. Be thou still and see the salvation of thy God, that thy body may be filled with light. Say unto thyself, thy winged God-self, I am light. 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 Holding this vision, attune with the creative presence of thyself above. Feel an intensification of the bands of light descending through thy beautiful silver cord, rendered more opalescent, more crystalline in places as the flow of light cavorts as a little creature of the deep would within the sea. And feel the glow of that light descending. It is the warmth of God, the fires from home, from thy presence, which is thy home. And as it descends into thy flesh form, to enlighten thy mind, and to give thee the consummate intelligence of God, know that it is a lodestone of cosmic victory. By this eye thou canst perceive a vision that includes the total sphere of thy being. To those of you who have been teachers, may I say to you, this is the eye that sees in the back of your head, and all around, above and below. It is not limited nor dependent upon the action of mortal muscles or cells or the flexibility of the optic nerves and muscular controls. It is solely dependent upon the love of thy presence. Now then, let us direct the qualities of God as rainbow colors into thy opalescent spiritual eye of light. First, we shall go to Archangel Michael, and I shall ask him to stand in the corner to your left. This is a rare occasion, blessed ones, for the great ones will stand in a corner for me because they know why I am doing it. You see, great beings do not mind obeying when it is for a cosmic and beautiful purpose. They are like gentle children and easy to place when thy scepter is light. Remember this. Archangel Michael shall stand in the corner, and he shall direct into the room the quality of faith, and therefore thine eye shall take on the quality of faith. Faith in that which is not seen as yet. Faith that that which is not seen yet is. And cognizance that it is by the light and fire of thy divine mind. The divine mind of thy presence knoweth all things. It is omniscient. The divine mind of thy presence understandeth all things. And therefore it understandeth faith, and how to convey to thee and to thy eye of light, as an inward act, faith in God, the cosmic beings, the angels and archangels, the Elohim, and thy mighty divine God self. As Archangel Michael is pouring and charging into thy eye of light, quality of faith, let us now ask the beloved Archangel Jophiel to stand in this corner on my right. We shall ask Archangel Jophiel to charge into your eye of light the quality of wisdom, not ordinary wisdom, but the wisdom of the Son Man, of Solomon, a wisdom greater than possessed by any ordinary man, yet possessed by a cobbler as humble as Jacob Behmen. Through this humility and faith generated from Archangel Michael, thou shalt also now intensify God's wisdom within thyself and thy eye of light. Gracious ones, let me now ask Archangel Chamuel to take his position by your beloved Paul in this corner. And let us ask Archangel Chamuel to charge into your eye of light the quality of divine love, the impersonal love of God that cannot be challenged, the impersonal love of God that in its boundless joy seeth the best in every creature and expands that best to become better. Now, precious ones, let me call upon the beloved and gracious Archangel Gabriel to stand by this nation's flag and charge into your eye of light the cosmic quality of divine purity, purity of vision, a crystalline, piercing quality that fixes God's designs in all upon which it gazes. With the fourfold action of these archangels, let us now, as a ministry to intensify the healing gifts you have received in this class, call upon Archangel Raphael to stand by your beloved Elizabeth and offer the gifts of her healing and the gifts of Archangel Raphael simultaneously charged into your world. Now, precious ones, let us move onward, and with great God determination call upon the blessed Archangel Zadkiel to take his stand here beside your beloved messenger and radiate the quality of transmutation into your world, the power to change. Absorb this mighty quality of the power to change. And now before this altar, let's stand Archangel Uriel, the angel of ministration and service, to charge into your third eye, into the eye of light, which is in the center of your forehead, the qualities of ministration and service. I am my brother's keeper. Drink in these qualities of God into your feeling world, into your thinking world, into your total being, and feel the surge of mighty power radiating forth from these present archangels. Light! I command thee now in the holy name of God to arise and pulsate, to demand of life the beauty of cosmic expression. Light, I demand thy victory over darkness and mortal oppression. Light command, light command, light command. Life, beauty, and perfection to stand firmly fixed within the consciousness of men. The hour of the drawing nigh of the great star from on high, the star of the Christ fixed in mortal firmament, is now invoked for mankind and the assimilation of all that the Christ stood for. For men have not in reality manifested the light of the Christ, but they have manifested a quality of human goodness, and this goodness is not enough. It simply cannot measure up to the divine qualities. For Adam, the first Adam, did indeed perish. But the second Adam is the Lord from heaven. And the beauty of that God from heaven, that Christ man, is within thyself as thou permittest him to descend as light. He is the matrix of light. He is the matrix of thyself. In him indeed does dwell the fullness of salvation, and there is no other name given under heaven among men save the name of the Holy One, the Wonderful Counselor, Prince of Peace and Everlasting Father. You must understand the universality of the cosmic Christ, manifesting so beautifully in Jesus and manifesting now so beautifully in thee. Repose in the radiance of thy holy Christ self. Feel it now, for I have called for on inner levels a band of angels of such magnificent number as to stagger the imagination of man. And I am determined to give you a little candle of divine love to carry with you wherever you go from this place, north, east, west, or south. The little candle of divine love shall come from the radiance of thy descending holy Christ self, and by cosmic law I have petitioned this night to the great karmic board and received for each of you individually who are here the specific grace and gift of a descending holy Christ self, which shall come down without fail over thyself and envelop thee in his magnificent light, and thy body shall become well balanced. Won't you please be seated, precious ones, so that I can do this thing for thee, which I seek to do. The holy Christ self shall descend, and thy body shall become light, for the word is gone forth, and thou hast already absorbed the qualities that make for a God-man, and thy eye of light is expanding that light within thee, and thus there is a lodestone, a cosmic magnet, fixed within thee now, as thou hast stimulated within thyself these cosmic characteristics of the eternal Father, strong to save. And thus thy own Savior is descending into the manger of thy heart, and truly the wise men of universal consciousness are bringing to thee the gifts of gold, illumination, frankincense, purification, and myrrh, the balancing of God in thy heart of karmic law. And by the threefold action of these gifts of grace brought to thy feet, thou shalt know the I am. For the Christ within thyself descending is the epitome of eternal perfection. Thus is he called Wonderful, Counselor, Prince of Peace, the mighty God, because he exudes these qualities. And as the Christ, precious ones, descends into thy form this night, there will come to pass an activation of many of the focuses of light within thyself, according to the karmic pattern of thy life stream. And if thou wilt but hold fast to the activity performed in thee by light tonight, surely thou shalt walk in the circle of hierarchy, and wherever thou shalt go, even the devils shall fear and tremble at thy approach. For God in thee shall act to see a way of life that makes thee free, descend to claim his own by love, descend to raise man to heaven above, to free the world within thyself and break the fetters thou hast made, to make and keep thee unafraid, until his hand is felt each day upon the pulse of life's own ray, and sweetness fills thy spirit bowl to make thee flooded with light. Unfold, O soul of man, like budding rose, and now demand no more human pose, but only gentle faith in God, that moves all mountains from thy sod, and shows thee plainly, I am the way. My presence in thee seeks to raise thyself and every child of light, and help the earth to win the fight against the denizens of the deep, and darkness creeping in while mankind sleeps, and removing from them senses right, and causing them to feel the strife and bondage of the world aflame with other thoughts than God's own name. Why will ye tarry, children of the dawn? Why will ye tarry from now on? Is it because you think that tomorrow will be better simply because you yearn for it? Precious life streams who have come here and to this focus, understand that in heaven, as thy coming was known, plans were made to give thee instruction that would assist thy life stream forever in finding its way free from all that would sever thee from God and the hierarchy of light. Etude divine, span and unfold thy screen. Etude divine, let minds attuned now dream of wonders to behold, of wonders to unfold. The screen of God unrolls. No tragic manners here, but only blessed light so dear. Light of angel eyes, light above the skies, descending now and blending now. All colors stand displayed before thy inner eye of light, a consciousness God made. The polytechnic display the wonders of his world, unfurl in endless dimension, a cosmic dream, a world of love that's seen above the mortal bands in time. Gracious ones, see the wonders the heaven does tell. See the power of light, and realize that God's light is so intensified and powerful upon this planet now that an internal aurora borealis is flooding the entire earth with a great display of God's beauty. And there is a portent here, a portent of that which is to come, a portent not of doom, but of a victory won. And so, as Saint Germain would say to you in jest and with smile, I say, here is our victory celebration in advance, intended to inspire the souls of men concerning sacred fire, that men may claim by God desire all that light can do. And now, precious ones, I shall permit this scene to be captured by the eyes of thy soul, that in some favorite time selected by thy own divine being, thou mayest see that which perhaps thou didst not see. Let me draw you very close to my heart, because I love you, one and all, and I love all mankind. and I yearn to draw them by the power of God's light to a place where their souls can expand and demand themselves made free. Some of you are aware of the fact that when I was embodied in South America, I became the victim of a black magician, and that I stood for many, many years in a booth where men could not see my lower parts, for the black magician, intending to see that he could bring about my total destruction in an unguarded moment, did turn my lower parts into the body of a fish. And thus the legend of the mermaid is called to your attention, not as a figment of man's imagination, but as a true epic of a degrading episode in my own world. For I stood at that moment just before he acted, at the very brink of mastery, and in an unguarded moment I was congratulating myself on all of my attainments when he struck with the sting and bite of an adder, and I found myself bound and scarce able to recover the use of my upper parts. But the spiritual teacher who watched over me was able to save me from that destruction. I called, and I called, and I called through the years unto God to free me from this bondage. And my calls were always made to light. O light, set me free. O light, set me free. O God's light, set me free. O God's light, set me free. As I waited upon mankind, as I served people and humanity, the constant prayer of my lips was to light. Light, light, light expand. Light expand. Light expand. Light expand, expand, expand. And this God command reached such a crescendo of momentum that at last, as a bolt of lightning through the blue, came the edict of the karmic board, and there was a great quaking and trembling within myself, and suddenly the scales of bondage parted, and I gazed down upon the new flesh and the perfect body that I once knew, restored by light to the realm of divine opportunity and the place where I could once again take up my studies in divine grace right where I left off, but in a most humble manner, and determined as I was to never again submit to any form of bondage. And so I kept up my application to light until eventually I was called before the great karmic board and told that I was indeed, because of the light I had externalized, worthy to be called, worthy of the appellation, the goddess of light. In sudden and almost blind wonder, I stepped forward to accept, not for myself, or for the sake of a title, noble though it was indeed, and noble though it is, but in order that I might convey to mankind down through the centuries my own gift of light, and thus assist not only mankind, but even the angelic host to externalize greater light through the roaring centuries and into the eternal boundlessness of God's own limitless light. O light! Tonight, as I came, I determined to be little like a roaring lion, but to come with softness on the outer, and let my thunder be heard within the souls of my auditors. Therefore, I have not spoken, except on one or two occasions, with a great volume. But within thy souls I have pasted the magnificent concept of light upon the very canopy of thy being, and I have sealed thee in divine light, which thou canst claim as thy own and I will not regret it. I will happily accept it if you will accept my gift to you. Silver and gold have I none, but such as I have gladly give I thee, my light, that which I am, my momentum of light, to free men. Use it. When you see individuals in bondage and in the torpor of human thought and feeling, call unto me and the light that I have placed within thee. I will do all in my power, as God did for me, to shatter the human matrix, and they will find a warm tingling within their heart, and that tingling will denote the seeds of light that are descending there to expand and expand through their flesh form until they are free. I am determined to render my assistance to mankind, and especially unto Saint Germain for his efforts so noble on behalf of freedom. Your own beloved Jesus is also my very close friend, and together we often charge forth the radiance of cosmic light unto the dying, to ease the transitional period when the darkness of the deep seems to be descending upon them, and the fading sight of earthly eyes brings some fear to their hearts. At that moment, by the intense application of my soul unto God, I am able often to infuse a tremendous burst of light that, like the sun, leads them to believe that they are still in physical embodiment. And as they pass over, the light that I send is the light that defends them against the feeling of the dark and the loneliness of the moment before they are God-orientated or received by the angels of transition into the places of rest, where they can be instructed in due course of time as to how they shall fulfill their cosmic obligations and expand that infinite life that is within them until such time as once again it taketh mortal form. In other cases I am able, the moment of men's ascension, to join with the great cosmic beings and those who are charged with the radiation of ascension's flame at Luxor in assisting mankind to feel the pulsations of light taking hold upon their flesh form. And many who have ascended physically have done so because of the efforts of God through me. You can assist also. I am happy to have you. When individuals are passing through transition, call unto me, and I will answer you. And I will use you as a focal point in the world of form to expand the light unto them, which is the light of hope, the light of faith, and the light of charity, the magnificent. In the name of God and the Spirit of his light, I salute you. And as I take my leave on wings of light, I say, let faith, hope, and charity increase, and let thy heart become a seat of mercy where forgiveness dwells. Let thy forgiveness be for man, for self, for error, and for stain. And let thy faith expand by heaven's flame until its glow upon the horizon of the world will be a sunrise for which the world awaiteth. I thank thee. Tempus fugit. Let the majesty of the divine mind, in its nobility, take command over mortal affairs, changing darkness into light, and destroying the illusion that man is a law unto himself. In the holy name of freedom I say unto you, the hour of emancipation to a planet is near, when the hearts of its people, in fervent application to the deity, do draw nigh unto God, that he may draw nigh unto them. The Word of God has the infinite capacity, most gracious ones, to expand love and light and opportunity. The Word of God is not temporal, but eternal. Even in its chastening of the prodigal child, it seeks to draw him into alignment with the powers of freedom that shall feed his soul upon the manna of God, and enable him, as Moses did, to lead a sovereign people through a barren wilderness to the promised land. Your hearts ought not to be troubled, most gracious ones, for all that God has sought to do, which has been brought to view in this class is reflected in your minds as opportunity divine. Opportunity to change that which seems to be mine into that which seems to be thine and is. The veil of Isis is only a simple formula, gracious ones, intended to conceal the two manifestations, the dual nature of man's perceptions, the perception of illusion and the perception of truth. Is. Isis. That which is, which seemeth to be, which is not, and that which is, which seemeth not to be, which is. Let men comprehend then the depth of the love of God, that even in the realm of Maya seeks to regenerate out of the Maic matrix, not confusion, but order. Out of chaos, God has wrought order and beauty and system, and the systems of the light waves of the Infinite One, when they are comprehended, will reveal to your consciousness how to penetrate the shards of illusion and see the many levels of manifestation, that which has been invisible to your eyes for generations, and that which has been visible. That which has been visible is only a minute portion, a speck of dust beside the resplendent glory of spiritual universality manifest in the divine covenant between God and man. This is the covenant that beats your hearts and sustains life within your world. Understand now then, gracious ones, that there are many levels of opportunity, and understand that these levels of opportunity must be sought for, that men must seek to penetrate the illusions of themselves and see behind the illusions the shining reality of God. The idea of an invisible world is abhorrent to some individuals who find contentment in the business of human living. Do you know, gracious ones, that we have heard individuals, even among the activities of light, express that they would not particularly like to have their ascension because they are having such a good time here below? I say to you tonight, they shall have that which they desire. The law of life is progressive, but it is progressive and attendant upon the will of man. The will of man, which was once the will of God for that man, but has become the will of human wrangling and wangling, whereby mankind seek to exercise their divine rights in the manner which best pleases themselves, without benefit of application to the mind of God and the mind of universal law and love, which would, as a wise father would for his children, bring the benefits of a sacred freedom and a cosmic honor flame to their being, to teach them in God's name how to be free. Now do you know, precious ones, that there are layers and layers and layers of consciousness within yourselves, and if you were to pick beneath the depth of that consciousness, in most cases you would discover the ugliest things near the surface, and only when you would penetrate to such a depth as to come into contact with the pristine aura of the thought of God in the beginning of the manifestation of yourself, would you come into the noble and the pure. Therefore, men should come into divine consonance with their divine presence. Yet there are some who are not able, by reason of various densities of thought and feeling, or the oppressions and chains of maternal or paternal slavery, of imposed activities which do not allow them to have their free will, to choose which way they shall go, or so they seem to feel. And therefore those individuals are often bound to the regimen of another's will. I say, in the holy name of God, let us shatter those matrices this night in the world of form and declare that the world is free. O angels of blue flame substance, cosmic beings and mighty Hercules, release thy bolts of immortal substance on behalf of freedom into the world atmosphere this night. Angels of record, carry the vibratory actions of that which I seek to do for mankind throughout the planetary body, and set men free from family bondage and the bondage that does not allow or permit individuals to have their own right to express freedom. In a universe where God himself has surrendered control over those sons of his captive heart, would it be wise then for men who have been given their freedom from God to submit to bondage from other individuals who are so far beneath the God of the universe as the sands of the sea are beneath the bands of the Pleiades or of Orion? Understand then that captivity is never the will of God, and some of you unfortunately are captives of your own negativity and of ideas which did not descend from your divine presence, but have come about in a rather odd sort of way, that which you might call haphazard way, within the folds of consciousness, concealing themselves in the darker recesses of thought and feeling, the subterranean caverns of identity, so that you are sometimes made to feel that certain ideas are your own, whereas in reality they are but the reflection of the world thought into the domain of self. And freedom from those thoughts is absolutely essential and necessary for your own personal freedom. You are often enchained and enslaved by desires and feelings that come from within your own world, and quite frequently we find individuals who are prone to say that the negative concept which filled their minds was a projection. I do not deny that projections of consciousness and the consciousness of others does come across the world to stab the hearts of children of the light and prevent them from the manifestation of their God design. But watch, blessed ones, that you do not impute all things to the projections of the consciousness of others. For also there is within the domain of yourself, in the hidden folds of identity, those concepts which are not God-ordained or God-inspired. And I think it wise that you shall put your hands in the hands of God and say, Father, deliver me from myself and all that is not thyself that is within myself. And by this holy offering shall seek to obtain the permission of the great lords of the sacred fire, from Venus and also the hierarch of this system of worlds, to see that the great fiery beings from the heart of God can descend into the subterranean caverns of self and burn out on the instant those impulses and seed designs which are conceived and spawned by satanic influences within the world form, within the world person, within the world identity. Precious ones, the world seems to possess no individual identity when viewed through the separate eyes of individual monads who see the world community as a seething conglomerate mass of mortal affections and designs. But when it is comprehended by the infinite capacity of the mind of God, you will see that this seething vortex of human desire is in reality the world community which God loves and desires to free one and all, to be one and all, a sustained momentum of cosmic activity that will stir this planet to the great regenerative power of the golden age of infinite capacity to love and to serve until the divine plan fulfilled is made manifest not only in man but in nature. Then the freedom that will be exhibited before your eyes will be a contagious freedom that will sweep the earth in the manner described by Mother Mary in her glorious Magnificat. You must recognize this. You ought to read it tonight before you go to bed, and understand, gracious ones, how that a spirit of love and compassion can leap to life within the world community and quite suddenly compel the glory of God to return to the temple of the world and to make of the world a harmonious whole, compatible with those cohorts of heaven who serve the divine plan, those ministers of fire, those angelic beings who serve the divine and holy law of God without ceasing. From whence cometh light? Does light come from darkness? And does the womb of darkness beget light? From whence cometh life? The spark of regeneration? Does it flash into the dark pan for a moment, and is it then extinguished to be no more? Is it the desire of God to extinguish the souls of those who have pinned their faith in him? I think not. And therefore tonight, in the name of Almighty God, I say of the house of Rekaze, let the banner of freedom be unfurled. Let the banner of Saint Germain roll over the world. Let the banner of Jesus the Christ be understood as one of the sons of light, who would define for men the fatherhood of might and right, the law of truth and purity that wins the fight and brings delight, for victory is mine. When my God design I do unfurl for all the world, and show revealed the light I am. The light commands, the light demands, the light protects and directs. The light confuses not nor abuses, but the light chooses to serve the law. And men with hearts filled with holy awe do love the sons of God below, even as they loved the sons above, when radiant spheres divine were first released from clasp divine. Grace, mercy, peace, and purity unto you all, dispensed from the holy lave of the temple, the water of divine grace that sitteth upon the multitudes, intending to bless the multitudes with light's design. But mankind have stirred the turbulent mass and made it not a thing divine, but a conglomerate glob of mortal substance. This they have done, and as they have sown, so shall they reap. Let them now become God's own, and then they shall no more weep, but they shall seek, and in that seeking find a path divine that leads by sacred fire to part the seas of vain desire, to show the sands on which the Master trod, the sands that lead to God. I am commanding light. Obey my will. Instill within these souls the fervor that will make them bold, the fervor that will make them gold. The law divine within their hearts do write, and see that right now, this night, they comprehend our grace and see God's face as purity to shine. Won't you please be seated, ladies and gentlemen? May I thank you for your gesture and rising tribute. May I establish here and now and for all time to come the clear comprehension that the house of Rekaze has been invoked by the spirits of light and love within the student body to respond to the calls and to raise our banner higher into prominence in the world community, where men may see the path that we have chosen, and by this comprehension and power of vision, by this re-education, create a grand revision in themselves that shall instill in all the mighty light of God that raises call and shadowed curtain, revealing the light with all its might and grandeur in themselves. A temple then is the body of men. A temple then is the body of man. The light divine within him shines and extends its aid unto the blind. For the blind do lead the blind, and men fall into the ditch. Gracious ones, please let your minds now be seized with ease, and let them be held in the hands of God who released them to your use. For there is no need to stir the emotional body with contempt for anyone. For that which men have done under the sun that has been divisive and confusing has no reality at all, and therefore it is no more. But in its place there is a vast store that always has been of the treasures of God, for the plundering of men who will use it to build an age of light and loveliness. Open then the gate of the temple. Infuse the world community with the simple law of God that a child can understand, and the kingdom of heaven will rush in with a speed beyond light. And men shall suddenly see that God has returned to his temple, and the restoration which ye seek shall be a fait accompli. O grace of God, manifest, manifest, manifest tonight. O grace of God, let the souls of men take flight, take flight, take flight. O grace of God, expand the dimensions of their world. Let them see into the eternal values of our world, the world of the ascended masters, that beyond the dimension of time and space penetrates the shard of mortal feeling by his grace and steals away with great delight from heavenly missions to serve your needs, O men and women of this age. America is indeed the sweetheart of Saint Germain, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. America has only sought to expand equality, fraternity, and justice among men. But this was her God design. And are ye aware, O men and women of this great nation, of the seal and inscription of this nation? Are you aware of the great field of blue with the 13 stars surrounded by the white cloud, circular in scope? Do you know that the symbols of America are held within a secret place in the Grand Teton Ranges? Do you know also that even in the Cave of Light in India, there are replicas of light magnificence concerning liberty and freedom? Do you know that the replicas and symbols of divine light for and on behalf of America were created by the ascended masters, and they are talismans of great power? Out of these talismans, beamed by the angelic beings and focused by a greater power than in the ancient Atlantean crystals, manifest the intention of Almighty God for this nation. Bastion of freedom thou art, and bastion of freedom thou ought to be. Bastion of freedom thou art, and to manifest the purity of liberty to the world is thy intended God design. The world is intended to drink of the cup, the great nectar cup of liberty, freedom, and justice. The world is intended to drink of the cup that will enable men to live in peace and to abide under the shadow of the almighty protection vested in God. The Hindus may call God, as Emerson did in his poetry, Brahma. The ancients did call God Inkal, and men have called upon God by many names, but the Spirit of the Infinite and the Eternal One is in reality that of the Nameless One. The ascended masters and cosmic beings are given key names so that men may call upon them as brothers elder. But the Nameless One has chosen to call himself I Am, which means that he is being of all beings, that he is involved intricately in the weavings of the outpictured vestments of creation. Each of you, in a sense, are a cell in the body of God, but you are as liquid light. And you are indeed then as liquid light able to possess the quality described by Meru in one of his great addresses given unto you in times past, possessing the quality called flow. Flow is the ability to transfer your consciousness out of the limiting dimensions of selfhood into the expansive power of infinity, the divine dominion of the consciousness of God. My words are not mere words. They are infused with the vitality and life essence of Almighty God. My words are not just designed in order to entertain you. They are designed with specifics in view and to illumine you and to give you comprehension that will enable you to obtain your freedom. I come to you tonight in the name of Almighty God and to establish a bond of righteousness with the people of the light. I care not if they be 2 or 3, or if they be many, so long as they yearn to be free, and will defend it, even if necessary, against the many. For the children of this world, unillumined and untethered to God, are as the chaff that bloweth before the wind, and they shall be dispersed as a whirlwind, and never shall they be any more, unless they shall consider the bonds of their reality. For in the flaming bonds of reality is the wedding garment described by the Christ, which men must put on, or they will be cast out into outer darkness where there is gnashing of teeth, symbolizing the pain of separation from the center of the holy will of God. Gracious ones, you have heard it said, and well was it said, recorded by immortals, fools rush in where angels fear to tread. And I tell you in the name of God that there are many fools in the world who seek to fool others, but in reality are but fooling themselves. They are pulling the wool, as you say, over their own eyes, and they think that they shall escape this God whom they despise. I tell you, they shall not escape until every jot and tittle of the law is fulfilled. And if men will exploit the energy of God and the will of God, and will consume it upon their lusts and for their own immoral and mortal purposes, they will find one day that the vast storehouse of cosmic energy, which was reserved for the elect of God, shall escape them utterly, and they shall lie supine and helpless, weak upon a bed of death. And there shall be no one to stay the hand of the death angel when he comes to them to claim that last little farthing of life which yet remains their own. I tell you that the second death has a reality which men must seek to escape from. And today is the day of salvation, for tomorrow could well be too late. It is a matter of the resolve. Men must strengthen the resolve, and the meaning is clear within the context of the word. For the word resolve means to reactivate, to resolve the problems that have prevented a divine union from occurring between the shores of their own selfhood and the identity of their own I am presence. Your I am presence, precious ones of the light, is the greatest and most glorious expansive power of life that has ever been brought to the attention of mankind. And when the beauty depicted in this chart of the divine presence is understood by you, your God relationship will come into prime focus, and you will see it as a target and a goal which you must strive for and win with your whole soul. You must seek, and you must take no answer of defeat, but only an answer of victory. Gracious ones, do you know what it means to the ascended masters to have the backing of the students of the light, and to know that the students of the light are absolutely sincere in all that they seek to do? Do you know what it means to your Master Moria and Saint Germain to know that the body of God upon earth is indeed a fervent, growing, expanding, maturing body of devotees of pureness and holiness and love? Love, gracious ones, in the world community is lacking, for most of that which is called love is actually self-affection reflected into mortal directions in order to deceive mankind and get them to do your bidding. You must understand that they do this in ignorance. It is not in the light of knowledge, but it is in the abolishment of wisdom from their world, which actually deceives themselves until they are determined that they are moving in the right direction, even when they seek to take away from their brother his divine perfection and direction. You may say, how is this done, O great divine director? I will tell you. They seek, precious ones, to be your teacher. They seek to show you the law and the way. You heard the fiat of last evening issued by and through the great God Meru. You heard how God himself did actually function through Meru, making Meru his prophet, at the same time that your messenger was acting as the emissary of Meru, and thus in a threefold action of descending light, you were apprised of the transfer of authority from the domain of the shepherd kings, and the golden crook, symbolic of their long reign as planetary servants of God, upon the crown of life and upon the shield of God was placed in the treasure house of divine mementos, and the transfer of divine relationships, of guru and teacher relationships to disciples, was made to individual monads, enabling all to come to a place where individually they can have direct intervention through the veil of their own holy Christ self and God presence. The meaning of this is that it does not alter the assistance which the ascended masters will give to you. It simply alters their responsibility, and they are no longer compelled, as it were, to serve the cause of mankind's freedom. But mankind have the responsibility of calling upon the masters in a greater degree than ever before. You must comprehend what this means to you as an individual per se, for the individual must awaken from the lethargy and sleep of dependence to become God-independent from all the universe and God-orientated by the wit of his love. What does this mean? It means that the divine omniscience, the all-knowing mind of God, should be invoked by each one of you within the domain of yourself, so that you can become, as Solomon was, a son of God. For this is the meaning of the name Saul. You have called the son old Saul, Saul Oman, son of man. This the Christ called himself, and he spoke wisely. And you then are intended to have the knowledge of God and dwell in no tents of ignorance or in no abyss of mortal fear and delusion. I am speaking tonight at some length because there is a need for descriptive passages and your attention upon me while I am doing something for your flesh forms, for your minds, and for your spirits. I am doing something to assist you in recognizing the responsibilities of life in this age, and so that you will know that the God design which has been held locked in the arms of your presence must be mined, which means to be claimed by you, and this is the mining of spiritual gold. This must be claimed by you and taken upon yourselves that you may weave a wedding garment of divine light substance, wholly illumined, and thus loomed, Loomed, loomed and illumed upon the great warp and woof of life as the shuttle of your attention drives to and fro to create the symmetry of the divine pattern. And oh, what a beautiful weaving it will be when you see your own wedding garment made by your own spiritual hands, assisted by the delightful mind of your holy Christ self, and the power vested in you by your divine presence as you invoke it and receive its assistance with joy and delight. Enjoy the days ahead. Enjoy the days with buoyancy, and let the power of levitation, of cosmic levitation, flood your being until you are able to rise, as it were, on your tippy toes, as St. Germain indicated today, and understand that you are a buoyant, joyous, graceful, gracious people, and that you are expected to manifest divine qualities. I do not desire in the name of freedom that you shall lack any good thing, nor does your divine presence desire that you shall lack any good thing. Every good thing, every good and gracious gift is intended to be for your using. God did not create the universe, nor did he create the earth and the elemental beings of life in order to deny you. He created them in order to affirm you. It is mankind's own denial of their great God victory that has caused them to surfeit and to dwell in a realm of shadow and shame and pain and despair and lamentation. This is not the intent of God. And I tell you, if I tonight were standing before 5,000 or 10,000 people, I would say the self-same words, for the money changers must be cast out of the temple of our entire society, and they must be replaced by the God changers, and the God changers will change by God and not by money. For there are many individuals today who are selling initiatic ceremonies and so-called sacred rites, which give unto mankind but a pittance of nothingness, which they can never use or purchase, but only confuse other individuals who will then say, the kingdom of God is not for sale. Precious ones, I agree with those who say so, but I have another statement to make about it, which I wish to drive into your hearts with the power of infinite light. The kingdom of God may not be for sale, but it is the highest price gift that you can ever receive. Even if it is given to you, you will pay the highest price for it demands your all. And if you give less, if you hold back, the wedding garment will not be a perfected garment, but it will be a garment full of holes that will not denote holiness. Am I a good humor man? Can I not even evoke the trickle of a smile upon your lips? Has my soberness rubbed off? Well, then, perhaps it is well. Understand that the banner of life, the power of light that has changed conditions throughout the world, has always been the spiritual power. And when men have stood back and gazed at a great painting or a mighty statue, it has been because of the infusion of the mighty light of God into the mind and consciousness of the Creator. And this has been sustained in many cases by angelic beings who have stood by the work of art to release the essence of God good into the countenance and being of the viewer. This is the difference between majestic art and the type of confusion, which is but a blob of paint smeared upon the canvas in order to evoke from mankind some monetary response or world fame, which sparkles for a moment in the dark and then is cast aside to be no more. While the individual goes down, and individuals stand and gasp in awe and amazement to see and behold that which is nothing, whereas they pass by that which is charged with the radiance of the ages as though it were nothing. And thus they cheat themselves, and by their own penurious concepts, they find themselves to be unhappy and afraid. While God himself, gazing down from on high, seeks to indemnify all with the full quality of that which they have sent out into the world, but desires to break the cycle, and cut it in half if necessary, in order that he may come into the cycle with his light, and propel mankind onward as they roll over the plains of life toward the gates of Valhalla, or the gates of the city of God, or the place of refuge from the storms of life. What beauty there is in the understanding of how the light of God is spread abroad. For great speeches and great manifestations have been infused by the power of God, and it is this which makes them great. It is not the individual's own greatness or the power of a human monad, but is the ability of that monad to attune with the power of heaven, so that the great symphonies of divine essence can blaze forth into the world and shake the world to its very roots. Thus the garden of God is watered by the very living word, and thus the garden of Allah becomes a place redundant with the perfumes of the angelic host released to cover the dullness of mankind's odorous putrefaction. What is the meaning of this? It is the meaning of darkness versus light, of reality versus unreality, of God versus annihilation. The balances of God are so beautiful. Whenever a feather is cast into one side or the other, it demands balance. O law of life, Almighty God, presence of all, define for them that which is exceedingly small, the subtle values which, trembling within their heart, would stop the action of mortal thinking and feeling. It deprives them of their God-revealing essential Christ illumination and puts them into a can upon which is placed the lid, and in the vacuum cylinder of mortal creation, the air is sucked out, and nothing is left except the decaying substance of their own personal identity. Replace that by shattering in the name of God the matrices of human putrefaction, and replacing it by the descent of the Holy Ghost, the descent of virtue, the descent of power, the rod of iron, which shall rule the nations and shall dash them in pieces even as a potter dashes clay vessels. Saint Germain is the greatest friend of freedom that the world has ever known, and he stands here tonight having just arrived by my side. Feel his vibrations of freedom. Feel the tumult and furor he has created in the atmosphere of joy and of God intent. Now comes your beloved Jesus himself and joins Saint Germain, brother joining brother of light. And the vibrations of Jesus flood forth into the atmosphere, his comprehension of cosmic victory. These two brothers of light, who were God taught through my ministry, stand revealed as the exponents of freedom to a world that has almost let the light go out. The flouting of the law, the tumult of human dissonance, the interracial problems, the manipulation of the world's currencies, the deprivation of mankind of the necessities of life, and the awful tumult created within the religious community by the continual contact with the brothers of the shadow and the releasing of their information of hauteur against the rays of God's law, has created a terrific imbalance in nature. Nature is determined to correct this imbalance, for it ought not to continue, and therefore there have been serious disturbances in this nation and upon the high seas, which have resulted from misuse of man's energy. Won't you please be seated? It is our desire tonight to allow and permit, yea, to invite all of you who have the wit and the desire to do it, to assist us in producing greater balance upon the earth. Now, do not think, gracious ones, that because you and I will it, that mankind are necessarily going to take our word for it, for they will not even take the word of the Heavenly Father. But this does not mean that we cannot outwit that which is using mankind in a wrong way. And we can outwit it beginning today and every day, even in the past. For we can project both into the past and into the future the God design. You can spin it around yourself as a little silkworm spins its cocoon. And it will be so much more beautiful because it is your God design. And when your God design begins to be externalized, it is a mighty thing, I tell you. For that God design is the key to Christ's magnificence. It is the key to the sacred mystery of the Christ. And it is the power of the 3 times 3 which enabled his ministry to stand forth for 3 years and affect the world for 2,000 years. When they came with staves and swords to crucify him, he spoke but 3 words. I am he! And they all went backwards and fell to the ground. How beautiful is the demonstration of the power of the spoken word, and how beautiful is the power of the manifestation of the externalized word when the Logos occupies your consciousness and moves through your life in such a manner as to cast upon the screen of the world and upon the screen of history not the shadow but the light of a man of God who is a beacon to the world and its night. I recognize full well, gracious ones, that some of you would listen to me for the entire night, and that others of you, by reason of human limitation and the capacity of your minds to retain that which I am giving, would perhaps wish to take a little look at that which I have said, and perhaps be released from the ray which I have upon this place, so that you could, in the light of sanity and reason and your own consciousness, begin to evaluate some of the things which I have told you. But I have a reason for continuing yet a space, and if you will bear with me, I think that in time to come you will decide that it was a wise decision. This is not a mortal activity, for this beloved messenger, precious ones, would long ago have desired to sit down and not stand before you. But he is willing and submissive to the will of God and to my will, in order that you may have the seeds of God scattered upon the hill of your identity, that they may expand and grow. And as they expand, will take command of the energies of your world, and thus help you to avoid limitation by expanding freedom. Freedom must be meditated upon, for it has other names among men who consider that it is licensed to do that which they will. In reality, freedom is only licensed to do God's will. And although he has given to you your freedom and so-called free will, God knows, and those of you who think know, that only his will is true freedom. For when you do your own will, it becomes bondage to a mortal thought. And a mortal thought contains within it the viewings of Ecclesiastes. All is vanity and vexation of spirit when it centers around the mortal design. But all is grandeur and nobility of being when it centers around its God design. What wonder is revealed then in the ability to lift men. To put the vibratory action of the sacred fire into that which you do. For this perpetuates for all time a monumental activity that came through your own blessed life stream. There is nothing wrong in individuals designing a monument for themselves, even if it be monolithic, so long as the waves of God delight are pouring through that monument, because the will of God is to benefit the creation which he hath made. And therefore, the God design is willing to impute innocence and sinlessness even to children who have erred when they become identified with his burning and smoking lamp. Read in Genesis the words concerning Abraham when he passed into a deep sleep, and God passed before him the burning and smoking lamp. Do you know, mankind, that the mysteries that are hidden from you are very great? But do you know that sticking out of the sand there are the handles and keys of those mysteries? Always self-evident, ever apparent, and standing upon the pathway of life, clearly visible to your eyes, but by reason of the untrained eye and the lack of the powers of detection, men cannot see these mysteries, and they stumble over them, and they glide over them, and they see them not. But they are there, and they are the answer to everyone's prayer. Keys to the kingdom, enabling men to release their hold upon themselves. To release their hold upon themselves. To release their hold upon themselves. And to accept the freedom of the Christ, to lay down their burdens. I invite you this night then, every one of you, to cast all of your burdens into a pack. As the song goes, pack up your troubles in your old kit bag. Will you tonight put your troubles, one and all, in a sack, and then cast it into the violet transmuting flame, and say unto me and to Saint Germain, Saint Germain and great divine director, I am putting all of my troubles, my burdens, my responsibilities into a sack, and I am asking that they be consumed by the violet transmuting flame, and I am asking for a release of God-intelligent energy into my world, that I will know how to create new God designs of responsibility, cosmically orientated, and to replace all of the human dissonance that I have ever expressed or manifested by the Christ mind in action. I am determined to infuse mankind with the vital essence of my life. I am determined that God will flow through me. I am determined to be a catalyst in action. I am determined to change the world by the power and spark of Almighty God. O infinite hosts of freedom, angels of the sacred fire, and great hosts of cosmic freedom, descend and mount thy momentum. Ride through the air upon steeds of white, carrying the swords of white fire substance, which shall penetrate through the density of mortal creation and shall enable this planet to be free by reason of invocation. I am causing now to ride through this room on snow-white horses any number of ascended masters who work with us in our cosmic bands. And upon them, upon their vesture and upon their thigh, there is a word written, Lord of lords and God of gods, victor over life and death. Understand then that all of these masters who are riding through this room are showing to you the victory of their light, and the light which they have manifested, which they obtained while they were yet in physical embodiment, is but now possible to all of you who will it so. And by the power of the divine will, charged and charged with the essence, so still the creative impulse that activates within its center strong the mighty arms of light that have lived so long, the power of the Ancient of Days to praise, the mighty light rays dispersed by grace, will fill your cup of consciousness with pure delight, to every wrong a right, replace all discord by accord, and bow before thy cosmic Lord. The 3 times 3 is a symbol of great beauty, and the perfectionment of Saint Germain is manifested in that symbol 33. In Masonry, the power of the 3 times 3 is also known to some degree, for we ourselves revealed it, taken from the tree of life, the holy Sephiroth, taken from the tree of life that is in the midst of the garden, so divine, taken from the tree of life that tunes the soul with mind and with our Father strong to save. Will you be brave tonight and face the denizens of the deep of mortal mind and say, you have no power, my soul to bind, my mind to blind, my heart to strip of all its virtue pure? For as Sir Galahad did stand and seek the noble holy grail, so the children of God determination shall not fail, and thus the strength of 10 shall rest upon them then, because their heart is pure, washed in the essence of the Father strong, secure. O waves, obey. My ray commands. O waves, obey. My life demands. Be still, my soul. Put out the wrong. Accept the power of God the strong to save the soul so frail, so thin, that now in strength begins to win, calling forth its beauty grand, that walks the earth upon the sand and shows to all the light of God upon the hill above the sod. Seeking star of grandeur bright, that shines now with God delight in the firmament of pure truth, a strong perfection for our youth. So wise is law, so true, so brave. 'Tis power to free from early grave and raise mankind in ascension's ray, a victor of the right today and evermore, yea, evermore, yea, evermore. I thank you.